Hello everyone and welcome back to Oulton Park as we conclude the opening round of the 2024 GB3 Championship. Mixed conditions so far on this bank holiday weekend. We began in the drive for the first race of the season on Saturday, and now as we come back after a day off on Monday, wet conditions here to test the drivers this morning, and that is going to be the same here. We have a look down on the start finish straight. As you can see, spray kicking up, and that is what they are going to be facing in around 30 minutes time to conclude the first round of the weekend, where the top 12 are going to be reversed. Before we go into that race 3 and build up to it in this pre-race show, let's first take a look back at what happened in race 2 a little bit earlier this morning.
Highlights from the second race of the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, got underway after 2 green flag laps and under safety car procedures. It was Louis Sharp leading from John Bennett down to the first corner, and already some big moves coming in from Tim McCarthy, getting straight down the inside of Mackenzie Cresswell in the first corner, squeezing Cresswell out wide, getting him a little bit loose on the curve, and the next person he got past was Ugo Ukachukwu, flying up the order with Kuharczyk. The next person he ticked off was his own teammate in Gerard Shee, up to third position. Kuharczyk was absolutely flying up the order, was the fastest driver on the race circuit. There would be a safety car out for an instant a bit further down the order. Once we got back racing, there was this unbelievable move from John Bennett straight around the outside of Louis Sharp. He was committed for the race lead, would go straight around the outside, going through the island bend inside of Shell Oils, and John Bennett would become the race leader. It was now time for him to check out from Louis Sharp, because knocking at the door was Kuharczyk as well, trying to find his way past. Unable to do so immediately, but was sticking right under the rear wing. Issues for James Headley, losing his front wing and a bit of contact coming down with his chicane. And then in the background there was Ed Pearson as well, having his own moment. He'd get stuck in the grass. A safety car wouldn't be required from that, but there would be some more drama from all of this. Louis Sharp defending from Kuharczyk, who was going on the attack, would lose his front wing and all of that and drop right the way down the order. Meanwhile, at the race lead, it was an unbelievable performance from John Bennett, who would take victory from Louis Sharp and Mackenzie Cresswell for his first win of the season.
For that, I look back at the race 2 highlights with Lewis McGlade and Piers Pryor. I'm going to be a presenter once again, Chris McCarthy. Let's bring in Piers Pryor, one of the voices you heard there. He's going to be in our pre-race show. We're about 20 minutes away or so from that third race. Piers, what did you make of race 2 earlier? The first time we've seen the drivers tested in the wet this season. I think a really good balance start to the season, isn't it? We've had a dry race and a wet race. What did you think of the wet race we had earlier?
Oh, it was a great race for the lead, wasn't it? Louis Sharp got away from the lead of the race, and it was a safety car start. I thought potentially that was going to be it for the lead of the race, but oh no, John Bennett with an excellent move around the outside of Island Corner took the lead, and then there was fighting further down the field as well. Tim Kuharczyk had an awesome pace at the start of the race, jumping from, I think it was 6th all the way up into 3rd place, or was it 4th place, and tried to make one more move, and unfortunately just a bit overzealous, clattering into the back of Louis Sharp, which meant that he lost his front wing, and that was his race over. And then plenty of movement up and down the field as well, and it was good to see some drivers who were potentially working on their wet weather driving over the winter, getting an opportunity to prove it in the race, like for example Jared Boberski.
Yeah, well, we see John Bennett taking what was his first win in GB3 ahead of Louis Sharp, with one of the best moves that we've seen in Mackenzie Cresswell on the podium as well. So 3 drivers all deserving of a podium, but how much confidence is that going to give John Bennett now to finally get that win, having had 2 that were essentially taken away from him?
Oh, he'll absolutely love that. I mean, we could see how much it meant to him when you caught up with him after the race, when he got out of the car, big fist pumps, and you know, he will have felt aggrieved last year with being so fast at Silverstone the first time out, you know, double pole position, and then both of those taken away from him. But no, a legitimate win this morning. Drove excellently. He actually had to take the win. It wasn't even, you know, due to a good qualifying, and he'll be buoyed by that.
He also would have got very good points, as did Jared Boberski. He finished in P7. He caught up with Piers after the race. Let's hear what he had to say.
The GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, is run by MSV's racing arm, MSVR. The 2024 season will consist of a maximum of 28 drivers across up to 10 teams driving the target MSV 022 car. Each race weekend consists of 1 qualifying session and 3 races. The first 2 are held over 20 minutes and the third is a 25-minute contest, with the top 12 drivers from qualifying reversed on the grid, with the rest of the grid lining up behind them in their qualifying order.
mate. Just the result.
There are 24 races across the season, including overseas trips to Spa, Hungaroring and Zandvoort.
We'll move it to the grid.
And the calendar starts at Oulton Park on Easter weekend, with visits to Silverstone Grand Prix at the end of April, Spa and Hungaroring in June, Zandvoort and a return trip to Silverstone Grand Prix in July, and then with a trip to Donington Park at the start of September, then the final showdown at Brands Hatch at the end of September. There are no required pit stops in GB3, but each car is only allowed to use a maximum of 8 tyres per race weekend or 2 sets, meaning tyre management is critical. The prizes for GB3 are twofold. An FIA Formula 3 test will be awarded to the 2024 champion, as well as the Jack Cavell Pole Position Cup, which awards each driver who claims a pole position with £250. The driver with the most poles at the end of the season receives a trophy and an extra £2,000, as does the team of the driver with the most poles. New for 2024 is the award of FIA Super Licence points. The top 5 drivers in the championship standings at the end of the season will receive FIA Super Licence points. Any driver looking to compete in Formula 1 must have accrued 40 Super Licence points over a 3-year period, and this year's GB3 champion will receive 10 points.
Not quite, Joe Roberski. That Lewis McGlade bringing you up to speed with the format of the GB3 Championship, which does come in handy because we do have some changes, which includes the grid format to race 3, where we will have the top 12 reversed and not the full grid. Now we have that cleared up, let's go and hear what Jared Roberski had to say after the race to Piers Prior.
Jared, a 7th place start in that one and a 7th place finish, a pretty decent result.
Yeah, I think overall a decent points finish, you know, a bit better than we finished yesterday. Yeah, after the first safety car, the first official start was really good. I was close on the pack in front, and obviously it's quite hard to overtake even in the rain. And then after the second start, I had a bit of an issue with my visor, so I was kind of just surviving from then onwards. I couldn't even see what gear I was in, so I was on the radio trying to just get as much info as possible in the gap. So, but yeah, obviously I survived, and that's what I needed to do for points. And yeah, we're starting a bit better in the reverse, so I hope we can move on to a podium there.
Yeah, well done for surviving with very limited vision in those tricky conditions out there. We spoke to you in the pre-season, or Lewis spoke to you in the pre-season media day, and you mentioned that one of the things you wanted to work on this season was your wet weather pace. Do you feel like that race was more towards where you want to be? And talk to us about that.
Yeah, overall I was quite excited it was going to be wet today. Obviously more opportunities. And you know, all through pre-season, any wet test day we've had, I've been really quick. So yeah, I was quite happy it was wet today. And then that's kind of put a wound in today, obviously not being able to see. So it turned into being really quick to being in survival mode. But yeah, I think obviously you get that sorted for reverse grid, and I think we'll have some solid pace.
Jared, we'll see how you get on in that reverse grid race. Thanks very much for catching up with us.
Good to hear from Jared Roberski there, 7th place from 7th on the grid, so pretty happy with that. He seemed pretty happy when he caught up with you there, Piers, but also you were mentioning there about how he did talk about wanting to improve in the wet. He's got a good chance to do that here.
Yeah, exactly. He wanted to improve his wet driving, and he was happy with his pace, and it's good for him that he's got now a benchmark in the wet with, of course, Bennett, who won the race, and he can look at the data, see where Bennett was faster, was slower. Slightly different conditions, of course, because Roberski right in the middle of the pack with the spray, and Bennett managing to get out in the front of the field. But you know, it's good to see the drivers moving as well. Roberski moving from GB4 to GB3 last year, and then moving, you know, improving his driving from his first year to his second year. And you know, a lot of drivers will be looking to do the same thing in their own specific areas.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic stuff. We're going to have the top 12 reverse. We heard from that in the format explainer. How much are you looking forward to seeing this different format for this season as well? It's something which, of course, for the brand new drivers into GB3, they're not thrown straight in onto the front row of the grid. And it does give those midfield drivers a really good chance to have a start at the front now.
Yeah, it's good to see a new format coming in. It's sort of a tweak to the reverse grid. Reverse grid very important for getting the drivers some experience in overtaking. But you know, with it being a full reverse grid, we often got some drivers who are less experienced at the front of the field, which could occasionally cause some issues. But you know, new format this year means you have to get inside the top 12 in qualifying to get that opportunity.
One of the drivers who just missed out on that reverse grid pole position was Josh Irfan. Let's go and hear from him now. Then we're going to have a look at the Oulton Park track guide as well as a bit of a hot lap with Piers Prior. And whilst that's all going down, we're going to magically move to the assembly area. We'll be back in a sec.
Tell us about your career so far.
Last year had a lot of ups and a lot of downs as well. Had a had 2 race wins, one at Silverstone, one at Brands, and a podium at Oulton, which I'm pretty happy with. The one at Silverstone obviously was quite special. First time F4 went to the full GP layout, so that was nice. But yeah, I mean, I was the youngest one in there, learning a lot last year, and I've just sort of taken confidence over for this year, which I'm looking forward to this year.
Now you did, a part-time campaign in GB4 as well as you did British before. You're doing a couple of rounds here and there. What did you kind of learn from all of that to build you up as GB3?
A lot of racecraft sort of type stuff. Obviously starts, overtaking. That's all the basics, all the fundamentals. When you come into this championship, obviously everything's a lot faster. I think more competitive as well. It's a very competitive championship. I think we're going to have close to 2,500 this year, so that's great. But yeah, it's going to be a hard year, but I feel like I've got confidence this year to do really well.
What did you get up to outside of racing?
School. I've got GCSEs coming up in like 2 months, so yeah, just full on school obviously. These sort of test days, I'm Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday here, and then I'm at school Friday, and then on the weekend I'm catching up and doing revisions, so at the moment, just a lot of school training, simulator stuff.
Do you find the sim stuff helps you?
Yeah, of course, yeah, it's the most useful thing outside of track, I think. Like, physically, you train maybe 1-2 hours a day, but obviously simulator you won't be on as much as you can. It's hard for me time-wise, but I do make sure I do a couple of good hours before I jump to a track or new car or a race weekend.
What do you think a good year looks like for you in GB3 this year?
I'll say top 5 is doable. I think in testing I've been around P7, which at this point I'm pretty happy with, and then I'm happy with the pace. I definitely think I'm a lot more confident this year than last year. So yeah, top 5 is doable. Hopefully they'll guarantee another year, maybe in this championship. Obviously I'm going to be the youngest one in it this year, so I've got the opportunity to do another year.
And so then our journey for the Oulton Park round will come to a close after an epic weekend of racing, but of course it'll continue after this. We go to Silverstone and our European road trip over to Spa, and then of course to the Hungaroring, and then over to Zandvoort before we return our way into the United Kingdom for a round at Silverstone once more, then up to Donington Park in Leicestershire before our head down to Kent for that ultimate season finale in Brands Hatch. Who will be crowned champion? Well, we'll have to wait and see. We've had an epic couple of races thus far this weekend. John Bennett taking the victory earlier on in the day. Louis Sharp with the victory on Saturday afternoon. And this is the circuit they were racing at. Oulton, excellent overtaking opportunity, Cascades. The incredible move from John Bennett going into the Island Bend Shell Oils corner complex. Of course, we saw plenty of drama, even at the final corner at Lodge. Up Deer Leap as well to cross the start-finish line. The fastest lap was set by Joseph Loke back last year when he had that incredible performance to take victory. And of course, we won't be seeing any fastest laps, lap record-breaking laps set this round, courtesy of the, well, frankly, awful conditions that we've got here, but it means that we get some great racing and some great moves. You can see them preparing to start their formation lap, and it will be Patrick Hoytzenroder starting this one from the reverse grid pole, along with Seb Murray on that front row of the grid. It is very, very strong. Only a 12-car reverse grid, just 12, not the full reverse grid like what we saw in previous years of the GB3 Championship, just the top 12. One of the major rule changes coming into this year as they roll onto their formation lap. It is going to be so difficult for these drivers to keep the car on the road, but that is why they are the fantastic talents that they are. Again, it's the third race, so we'll take a look at the starting grid for it, and of course we'll remind you that Patrick Hoyt-Roeder will be starting this one from the pole position. Seb Murray alongside on that front row for Chris Dittman Racing, obviously after a spin yesterday on the earlier on in the day of the formation. Now Jared Oberski and Arthur Rojon on row 2 of the grid, and Rojon does make some good moves around here. Will McIntyre starting from 5th position. Colin Queen received a penalty, we'll talk about that one in a moment. Timothy Kuharczyk in 7th position with Mackenzie Cresswell down in 8th. Then Gerard Shee and Uga Ugachukwu in 10th position had a podium back on Saturday's race, looking for even more glory. John Bennett fresh after his first victory in the GB3 Championship just earlier today. Louis Sharp victorious on Saturday. Now we get into the non-reverse drivers. Josh Erfen, the first of those. Ed Pearson retiring from the previous race after going off at his slot. Noah Ping in 15th position. Hugo Schwarzer in 16th position for the Elite Motorsports team. Then we've got Flynn Jackson 17th, Sean Rashid in 18th position, and then onto the penultimate row of the grid, Aditya Kulkarni in 9th position. Rishabh Jain, who was a retirement right into the barrier, unfortunately, in the race earlier on in the day. James Headley at the rear of the field. He worked his way up to 11th position in the race earlier today before unfortunately losing his front ring and then retiring from the race. So the formation lap is coming to a close. I think I'll have another couple of ones out there as well. So it will be this formation lap, and there will most likely be a second green flag lap. Piers Fry's worked his way over into the commentary booth, ready to talk us our way through this one. This is going to be very special indeed. Can Patrick Hoyt-Roeder win?
That would be an epic result for Patrick Hoyt-Roeder, of course. Joining us only for one round last year. He's had some race experience in the wet because we didn't really have much dry running at Zandvoort last year, did we?
Have any?
I don't know if we did, maybe in practice, but not that I saw at least. And yeah, it's going to be a wet one in this one as well. Actually, potentially even wetter than it was earlier. Despite what the weather forecast suggested, it rained heavier over the lunch break than it was expected to. So yeah, as you can see, there is plenty of spray out there and a decent amount of standing water, which the drivers are going to have to negotiate. Although it looks like we are going with a standing start based on the experience. I think probably based on the experience that the drivers gained this morning.
We had a safety car start earlier on in the day. I don't believe by how they are treating this that there is going to be a second green flag lap. So despite it being wetter out there, they are getting just the single green flag lap. It's not very much time to get heat into the tyres, is it? No, but
the thing that is working for them is that the operating temperature of the wet tyres is much lower. The slick tyres, you really need to get them properly hot, sort of 60, 70, 80, 90 degrees before they start actually getting some temperature. And as you can see there in the bottom left-hand side of shot, 8.5 degrees is ambient temperature, and that's where the tyres will start. But in the wets, they've got the blocks, so they warm up a little bit quicker.
That is a degree warmer than it was earlier on in the day, which in percentage terms is quite a lot, but it is just a single degree of difference. So they'll take to the starting grid. Patrick Hoyt-Roeder starting this one from that reverse grid pole. The top 12 have been spun around from the qualifying order, and they will see who's going to come out on top in this third race of the weekend. Of course, it is Patrick Hoyt-Roeder and Sebastian Murray on that front row of the grid as we are racing here. A bad start for Sebastian Murray, and straight through comes Arthur Rojon into third position. Well, make that into the race lead. That is absolutely incredible from Rojon.
A brilliant start from Rojon on the outside, and we can see Seb Murray trying to make some positions back up on the outside in the red car that was on the front row. But it is the black and white car of Rojon that leads the race.
Indeed, you can see the black and the red and yellow highlight car of Sebastian Murray trying to work his way down the inside. Started from the front row of the grid before dropping down the order, unfortunately, with that poor start. That bright yellow car in the middle, that is Jared Waberski of the Elite Motorsports team, trying to get past the number 10, that silver car, the JHR development car of Patrick Hoyt-Roeder. So Waberski is flying right now.
Yeah, Waberski clearly using the experience. Oh, and a big slide there, the number 3 Ping in the grey VRD car having a slide to the middle of Shell Oil's corner, and he's managed to gather that up in his bid as he goes up the inside of one of the Vortex, the number 41, Edward Pearson. So despite that little wobble, Ping making up positions.
Yeah, indeed. So taking a slightly differing line coming down the hill, that's the number 21 of Will McIntyre in that silver high-tech Pulsate car that was looking for a move. I think there might have been some drama as we're trying to move our way through. That number 7 there, that is Louis Sharp, that black and white Rodin Motorsport car. Louis Sharp marching his way up the order, had a victory on Saturday. He looked for another one. Another reminder as well, this race is slightly longer. It's 25 minutes rather than the standard 20-minute race length.
Yes, just a bit of extra time for the drivers, especially inside the top 12, to make some extra positions. Louis Sharp, the number 7, of course, the joint championship leader with John Bennett. As we have see a move, the number 21, is there going to be contact? That's so close. Yeah, that was nearly contact between Weberski in the yellow car and the high-tech behind of McIntyre. McIntyre trying to make some positions. He's not had the best start, or not the start to the season that he probably would have wished for.
He's still been doing all right as well, McIntyre. And to be fair, Sebastian Murray here in this red and yellow Chris Dittman racing car is doing very well to try and hold off that black and white Rodin machine of Louis Sharp. Behind them as well is Mackenzie Cresswell in that yellow number 16. Slow run there, unfortunately, from the red and yellow car, and I do believe that there might well be a pass here. Sebastian Murray might be a sitting duck coming to the island bend as the number 7 of Louis Sharp. Well, he wasn't able to do what John Bennett did in the previous race on him.
Yeah, it was looking for it, but he's now looking in the black and white Rodin car on the outside of Shell Oil's corner, trying to go around Seb Murray. Seb Murray going wide on the exit, and Sharp getting a much better exit. He's going to make his way on the inside, which will then become the outside. No, he's already through before the Britain's chicane.
Yeah, see, I think I can call his up as well in that chicane. That's fine. Yes, the British chicane does make that move. Will McIntyre, number 21, that silver high-tech Pulsate car, straight down the inside of the bright yellow of Jared Weberski. That is for 3rd position. So he has moved his way onto the podium. It does seem as though the high-tech Pulsate driver is flying. Speaking of flying, look at the gap already that this black machine has pulled. Louis Sharp is clearing out from Sebastian Murray right now.
Yeah, let's have a look at the sector time, shall we? Sharp is easily the fastest of the cars around him, although the fastest car on the circuit, unsurprisingly, is our leader. Purple sector 1 for Arthur Rojon, purple sector 2, so purple sectors means that it's the fastest sector of the race so far in that section of track, and so our leader with the best vision without the spray is romping away from the rest of the field, and if he can hold off for the rest of the race, that will be his first win in the GB3 Championship. I don't want to jinx him just yet, Lewis. He's still got a long way to go. Whoa, a big moment for Huizenrode into turn 1. Huizenrode, of course, racing for the JHR team. We're looking at him come down the hill now. He's under pressure from Will McIntyre, who's also in a grey car, but that's the high-tech Pulse 8 car.
Yeah, they might look slightly similar through the spray, but they are definitely different teams that battled for the championship last year. Let's see what Patrick Huizenrode could do. That number 10 car, the distinctive one, the foreground of shot. Blue highlights on his car compared to the number 21 silver and red car of Will McIntyre. Fastest lap going to Arthur Rojon, who of course does have a podium in the GB3 Championship. 2 of them, in fact, both of them coming in reverse grid races. This would be a very different style of podium to get from a reverse grid race. Our first time having just the 12 cars reversed, and also the most important bit, it's a victory.
It is a victory, but of course the points for the reverse grid race are slightly different to the first 2 races. It's 35 points for a race win in race 1 and race 2, 20 for a win in the race number 3, but you gain an extra point for every position you gain, up to the maximum number of points of 35.
No, not anymore.
Not anymore. No,
it's 12. You can only gain 12 points.
12. Sorry, my mistake, because it's now a reverse grid 12. Sorry, Lewis, I did know that. I just forgot at the moment.
That's fine. It's a maximum of 32 points is what you can get, which is 3 less than what you would get from winning a normal race. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But like you say, it is a position gained for every. Point gained for every position you make up from your starting position. So there can be some very big gains. There aren't going to be any for John Bennett at the moment, who's dropped down to 15th position, curiously, our joint championship leader after the first 2 races. Meanwhile, Louis Sharp has been working his way right up the order and maybe even closing down on Kuharczyk. Let's take a look here, looking down the inside. Speaking of Kuharczyk, that number 22 silver car, that is Kuharczyk trying to make a move on the black, white and lime green, or Dayglow yellow, however you want to put it, of Ugochukwu. That is the battle for 5th.
Yes, it's interesting to see how much difference just being in the clear air makes in terms of pace, and how much visibility is lost from being in the spray, because Bennett was, I'd say, quite comfortably the fastest driver in race number 1. He pulled away from the rest of the field, taking the fastest lap by a decent margin, and in this one, his fastest lap is almost a couple of seconds slower than, in fact, more than a couple of seconds slower than our current race hitter, Arthur Rojon.
Damage, potentially?
we haven't seen him on the stream, we haven't seen him on the broadcast recently, so potentially there's some damage there, but it may well just be that, you know, you can't push on because the closer you get to the car in front, the less you can see. And there is our race leader, the distinctive colours of Rodin Motorsport. All three cars are black with white highlights, so slightly different flashes depending on the driver. And then in second place, the number 10 is Huizenrode, followed closely by our number 21 McIntyre, also in a grey car, but for that high-tech Pulsate team. I think it's a matter of time, only a matter of time before McIntyre moves his way from third place to second place. Or a big splash through a puddle there from Huizenrode.
So there is a puddle then going into Druids, which is very difficult. It's a tricky braking zone anyway, but having to wrestle the car through that is going to be brutally difficult, especially with the lack of vision when you're in one of those cars behind, because you can't see the puddle until basically you hit it. Kuharczyk then in the 22 car there. This is the battle for 5th position. Ugochukwu in that black, white and yellow car runs out a little bit wide. That is for 5th place. Ugochukwu just taking a little bit of a different line going into Lodge Corner, that final turn of the race circuit.
Yeah, there is one thing about racing in the wet is that there are options with lines. In the dry, there's almost always one geometrically best racing line in terms of being able to carry as much speed into the corner, through the corner, and then on the exit. In the wet, you can experiment. Oh no, Patrick Huizenrode! He's got an issue. Is he pulling over with a mechanical, or is there an issue that he's done? No, that looks like some sort of issue. That was from second place. Huizenrode, of course, the number 10 for JHR, is he's pulled over to the left-hand side of circuit. He will be bitterly disappointed with that from second place on the road, and that's almost certainly going to lead to a safety car.
Yeah, that he's not parked it up near an escape road for the marshals to easily remove that vehicle from the race circuit. And obviously with the spray, you can see the double waved yellows coming out, and you can not see the car, concerning enough, because obviously the car is shut down completely. There is no rain lights on it at the moment. So very, very sketchy indeed. Obviously our marshals pulling out those yellow flags as quick as they can to alert all of the drivers there is a car stationary there. Yeah,
I would say the one thing that Huizenrode did do well is he did pull off the racing line, away from the normal racing line. He pulled off the circuit as well completely, so hopefully no driver should find him stationary on circuit. Clearly an issue that's happened off camera potentially with the car, but you know that even extends the gap at the front of the field to for Rojon, who's leading this race quite convincingly. There you go, see Huizenrode, he's perfectly fine. Car not so much on the inside.
No safety car as of yet. 16 minutes left to go in the race. Should equate to around 9 or 10 laps, dependent on when Rojon crosses the line. So we'll come to that one in due course. But should be about 9 laps, maybe even 10 from this point, courtesy of the lap time. Fastest lap has just come in from Will McIntyre, who's the fresh driver in second position. Confirmation at the bottom of your screen. That is half a second faster than your race leader, Arthur Rojon. Do we have a battle on for the race victory? The safety car comes out most certainly. Without the safety car, I think it's a tall order.
Well, you say that, Lewis, but he's a full half a second faster, McIntyre, in second place than our leader. Oh no, hang on, I'm looking at the wrong thing. No, actually, Rojon's responded. I'm looking at the sector times for this lap. Rojon has just set the purple first sector. So, big slide from the number 31 of Ugochukwu into Shell Oil's corner, managing to catch that and gather that up just about, but nearly a mistake that could have cost him dearly.
Just again, the struggles of grip. We saw John Bennett struggle with grip going into the Shell Oil's corner earlier on in the day with the rain that was coming down. In fact, even after he made the move on Louis Sharp, still struggled up the race circuit courtesy of that grip. All of them taking the differing line coming down into the Hislop chicane. Louis Sharp, this number 7 car here, the black and white car, has been unable to pass Kuharczyk or Ugochukwu ahead. So to be fair though, championship-wise, he's worked his way up from 12th place to 6th. It's a decent haul of points and will almost certainly mean that he is the championship leader departing Oulton Park.
Yeah, I'm also quite impressed with Mackenzie Cresswell. Mackenzie Cresswell races in the number 16 yellow Elite Motorsport car. Cresswell managed to get 3rd place in race 2 after just staying out of trouble, people throwing it off in front of him. We've got a full course yellow, and the safety car is now deployed, I would imagine, for the Patrick Huizenrode car.
Yeah, no one else, as far as we're aware, has had any issues around there, but obviously we'll wait for race control to confirm that one. But the safety car is out once more today. Obviously we had it out in both of the previous races, one in GB3 and then obviously we had one in GB4 as well. So no major shocks though, considering the conditions. And also, let's give our respect here. it's not because, as far as we're aware, anyone's had any issues driving-wise. Again, shows the quality of the series. It's because of what looks to be a mechanical or something in that variety. There's a problem with the car, rather than something that he's necessarily done directly.
Yeah, it would lead you to believe there's an issue with the car, because it's very rare actually in the GB3
Super
Championship. Rare. We generally have very good reliability in these cars, and he's just pulled over to the side of the road, and he's just stopped off the road. So hopefully we can get that car retrieved fairly shortly, so we can get going racing once again. It's nice that we've got the extra 5 minutes in this reverse grid race, so that we maybe we'll still manage to get 20 minutes of racing even with the safety car.
Indeed. Obviously, we've still got plenty of time left to go, 13 minutes. If you are joining us on YouTube, apologies for the audio issues we've been having. Hopefully all is running well now, and you can join us for the final parts of the race. What has happened to Aditya Kulkarni?
That's on the way into Shell Corner on the right front damage. So I think there's probably been a bit of a miscommunication with Adi Kulkarni and one of the drivers who he was around. Who was he directly behind? Was it Rashid? Yeah, I think he was directly behind Sean Rashid. So again, speculation, we haven't seen it. There's definitely been contact there. Not something you want under the safety car, but in these conditions with the spray, even under the wet conditions, it can be a case of a concertina effect. And unfortunately, the marshals have got twice the amount of work to do on that stretch now than they had just a few moments ago.
Indeed. Now, whilst we are under safety car, and whilst you are joining us on YouTube, hopefully without the audio issues, I will run you through the order just very quickly. Arthur Rojon, and explain a little bit what's happened in the race. Arthur Rojon, our race leader at the moment. Will McIntyre with the fastest lap in second position, then Waberski. I'll talk through this replay first. See on the left-hand side of shot what has happened to Kulkarni. Where does he pop in there?
Yeah, it looks like he's just misjudged everyone slowing up, coming up towards the island corner, and just made contact with the back of one of the cars. That's a real shame.
Now that's not going to go down well with race control.
No, I imagine the stewards will be looking at that, because there is pretty black and white. Under safety car, there should be no situation in which you are making contact with another vehicle. So unfortunately, as much as it's easy to do, in fact I've actually been the person that's caused issues behind a safety car before, but we'll skip over those completely. It's not something that the stewards look at lightly, because of course the whole idea of the safety car is to allow the marshals and safety crews out on circuit to retrieve cars and make sure that the circuit is underway, and the risk is to them is why the safety car is out.
Big shame for Aditya Kulkarni then. Obviously out of this race, and comparing it's his first weekend in GB3 as well, driving this car, and is in a lone team. It's just him driving for Hill Speed. Another look on replays to what happened, I believe, to Hoytsenroder. So you can see Arthur Rojon come through here.
Just slowed down.
There's the car's just either got no power or something, it's switched off. I don't know, I'm not an engineer, I'm afraid. But that number 10 car of Hoytsenroder, that's how it's out of the race. Very quickly then, Arthur Rojon, our race leader, then McIntyre, Waberski in third, Ugachukwu in fourth, Kuharczyk in fifth position, then Sharp has worked his way up from 12th to 6th, fantastic effort. Sebastian Murray from the front row of the grid has dropped back to 7th place, then Mackenzie Cresswell in 8th, Colin Queen in 9th position, great drive from him thus far, Gerard Shee in 10th position, before we get to Noah Ping in 11th, Ed Pearson in 12th, Hugo Schwarzer in 13th. The big story of the race, though, is John Bennett down in 14th position, joint championship leader coming into this race. Not sure as to what's happened to the number 11 car. His good mate James Headley has worked his way up from 21st to 15th. Flynn Jacks in 16th position with Josh Irfan in 17th. Sean Rashid has returned to pit lane, and then Rishad Jain in 19th position with Kulkarni retiring after that incident we just saw, and Hoytsenroder with the a technical gremlin within the car, our first retirement and the causer of this safety car.
It looks like, as you mentioned, Sean Rashid is in the pit lane. There he is, Sean Rashid in the pit lane. Likely to be due to that contact with Adi Kulkarni. I did speculate that it was probably Rashid, seeing as Kulkarni was right behind him. That probably confirms that the contact was between those two cars. Probably, it's unlikely to be Sean Rashid's fault, but again, we haven't seen the beginning of the incident, so it wouldn't be right of us to apportion any blame there at this stage.
Yeah, it did look sort of as if the rear left was slightly askew on Rashid's car, which would make sense with the front right contact, but that could just be my eyes deceiving me, expecting to see that kind of damage. So you'll see the zoom boom come in to collect the hill speed car there of Kulkarni. Once that car is out of the race, hopefully we'll be back racing again with plenty of time left to go. With 9 minutes left to go in this race, once we've done at least this lap and then another one, hopefully we'll at least get 2 or 3 laps of racing to bring this one to a close, because we would like to see this one race to the checker flag in green flags.
Yeah, we were looking at wondering whether there's going to be any more moves. There was Sharp, who is closing down on Kuharchik and Ugachukwu for 6th, 5th and 4th respectively, and also we were interested to see whether McIntyre could mount a challenge on Rojon. Rojon will be disappointed because he built a nice lead at the front of the field. There he is, Arthur Rojon, number 18 for Road and Motorsport. He's trying to keep as much temperature in those tyres as he can. The number 21 behind him, McIntyre. Well, McIntyre for High-Tech Pulsate, he will be licking his lips at this opportunity. He's kind of been handed an opportunity at a victory that potentially he may never have had a look at if it weren't for the safety car. So sometimes you've got to take the luck when it comes, Lewis.
Indeed, Arthur Rojon was looking for his first victory. He does, like I said, he has 2 podiums in the championship. Hoytson Roeder there was looking for his 2nd podium, because obviously he did have one in the last reverse grid race of 2024, when it was that excellent victory from Gerard Shee. Ed Pearson joining them on the podium. Gerard Shee, I said that he's looked like a completely different driver this year. We saw so many flashes of potential from Shee last year, and we're seeing it once more, having a great couple of races before this. And to be fair, 10th place, it's not that bad. It's not so bad. He's lost, I think, 1 place, and that place will be to Sharp, basically, because Sharp, he would have gained another one from who's the road stopping. So I basically lost 2 places on the road, but it's very tricky, and a lot of that will be down to the start. And we mentioned it in GB4. If any of you at home watched the GB4 race, we had a couple of issues with the starters. Same in GB3. These cars are not easy to get away from the line, especially in wet conditions. You've got 250, nearing 250 horsepower nowadays in the GB3 cars. You've got a very, very sticky clutch that is designed to take the power from the engine and give it to the drive wheels, but that kind of means that it's not particularly easy to pull away. It's certainly harder than pulling away from the lights in your road car, for example. And the fine line between stalling the car, getting an absolute rocket ship of a start, and then getting pure wheel spin, which doesn't really get you anywhere, it is so fine that you can find yourself dropping 2 or 3 positions at the start, or gaining 2 or 3 positions, from a couple of millimeters difference in clutch position and maybe a couple of 100 RPM. Note from race control, as there was almost a bit of side-by-side there between Jared Waberski in that yellow elite car and Ugachukwu in the black, white and yellow highlighted car. So maybe a little bit. It's going to be nothing. It's fine. I'm just I'm basically the fun police, the safety car. I was going to say, by the way, the incident between with car 15, which is Kulkarni, according to race control, will be investigated after the race. I did mention, I do apologise for not bringing it up, Colin Queen received a penalty,
3 places
in that race of 3 places. That was due to contact between himself and Josh Erfan in the previous race. It was the end of the safety car period, and car 62 caused a collision, and they kind of didn't give it so harsh because the visibility was poor and it was in pack. He was not driving at consistent speed, so that's why he got a penalty.
Yes, and not too harsh. It's difficult in these conditions, and it's good to see that the race directors, the driving stewards, we've got Rob Bath as our driving steward, who gives the stewards an insight from a driver's perspective, or an experienced driver. Rob Bath, of course, a very successful professional racing driver a few years ago. Wow, look at that puddle growing there. You do not want to be hitting that in a GB3 car, that's for sure. But anyway, finishing the point I was just making, it's good to see that the stewards, they do take into account the situation, the conditions in their race decisions. And hopefully the stewards won't have too much to do as the lights go out on the safety car, and we're going to have about 4.5 minutes of racing once we get to the start-finish line.
There should be 3 laps of racing left to go from this point, provided there is no further intervention of the safety car. I am glad to see this. The Orange Army have done an excellent job to clear the cars, clear the obstructions, and get this race back underway. Arthur Rojon leading the race then, with Will McIntyre behind, Jared Waberski in 3rd position, and we'll see that black, white and red car of Arthur Rojon lead into the first corner. Let's see that silver car in the background is teammate Kuharchik trying to get past the black, white and yellow car of Ugachukwu.
Yeah, it looks like actually Kuharczyk had a bit of a moment coming out of turn one. He's going to be under pressure from our race 1 winner Louis Schaft and the number 7 Rodin car that we're looking at right now. Although McIntyre's managed to hold off that defence for now. But you can see the spray, Lewis. Look how little visibility these drivers have. They are completely blind. And we actually heard from Jared Weberski, didn't we, that he had an issue with his visor, which meant that not only was there fog. Oh, that was a big puddle that Rojon hit on the inside and made the car go sideways, but just about surviving.
So difficult to get through Shells at the best of times. We noted that John Bennett was running a slightly higher line, not quite that high. That is James Headley in the number 2 VRD by Arden car that was just trying to get around the outside of the number 11 of John Bennett, once again trying to fight his way past. John Bennett is struggling in these conditions, not able to maybe find the purchase of the tyre on the race surface.
Wow, a visual representation of how little visibility there is out there. The car is just appearing out of the spray, and that's a move actually from James Headley. No, thought better of it. He looked like he was at the inside of Bennett there, and thinking better of it, and moving on to the race. Now we cut back to the front of the field. That's the number 21. That is Will McIntyre for High Tech Pulse in second place, trying to chase down our leader, but it looks like Rojon has had the best middle sector of everyone so far. A 51.9 plays a 52.1 from McIntyre, and that also adds to the 2/10 that Rojon, our race leader, pulled out on McIntyre in the first sector. So Rojon still romping away at the front of the field, and all the places below that are still well up for grabs.
Colin Queen doing a fantastic job here. Noah Ping in that number 3 car trying to get past Jared Shee. I was going to say Colin Queen in that 62 car was actually attacking Mackenzie Cresswell. You'll see the bright yellow car come through shot, the number 16 should be the next one through. Feeling the pressure from that 62 white and red Fortec Motorsport car, trying to work their way up. Of course, they have contended for championships in the past of Fortec, most recently in the GB3 championship with Joel Gramfors back in 2022 in that fantastic battle between himself and Luke Browning. 2 laps left to go in this one.
Yeah, we're looking now at the yellow car of Jared Weberski. Jared, of course, racing for the Elite Motorsport team in the very distinctive livery, and we've mentioned it before, but it is, I believe, a bit of a homage to Garth Weberski, his father's F3 car, British F3 car from a few decades ago. Good to see the racing family continuing on with the same colours. As the field is still pretty close together, Lewis, after that safety car. We're not spreading out too much, apart from our leader. There is Will McIntyre in second place, not far off.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's the top 2 that really are checking out from the rest of the field. Arthur Rojon at the front of the field, then Will McIntyre. This is the battle for third. Uga Ugachukwu trying to grab himself a podium in the black, white and yellow car of the Rodin Motorsport team. That was the 91 that had the big slide going through the Hislop chicane, the 91 being that of Sebastian Murray, who's held his own despite dropping back in the early stages of the race, courtesy of not getting a great race start. He didn't plummet through the field, he didn't panic, was able to keep the car on the track and keep his eyes forward, which is very important to do so. 1 minute left to go in the race, meaning we are starting the final lap of the race and the final battles for those podium positions.
It's not over yet though, Lewis. Did you remember last race? There was all the drama in the last couple of laps, even in GB4 it was the last lap where all the drama happened. Well, hopefully there's not too much drama, just some good racing on circuit. But everyone's kind of strung out a little bit. It's so hard to follow closely, because as soon as you get right up behind the car in front of you, you literally have no visibility, and picking your braking, turning points, circuit edges is just that much more difficult, that the risk is through the roof. So a lot of the drivers just choosing to maybe drop back ever so slightly.
Uga Ugachukwu made a bit of a mess of T1 and was unable to close up to the rear end of Weberski, who was looking for a podium. I want to check if it's Weberski's first podium, actually, because I know he's been a fantastic time. He did have a podium last season at Spa, and that was the only one he had. This would be a great turnaround for the books. What's the position switch?
That's our leader.
Yeah, what's happened to Arthur Rojon?
That's Arthur Rojon has slowed down. He is certainly slowing. Looks like he's got no straight line speed. Yeah, he's frustrated in the car. I said, Lewis, drama on the last lap is possible. The lead has been handed to the number 21, the High Tech Pulse 8 car of Will McIntyre, and Rojon's dropping down the field. Can he finish the race?
he is still going slow. He is struggling. I don't know what's happened here. An engine problem, I don't know. He is desperately trying to reach his way to the end of this race, to the checker flag. But obviously everyone behind, Timek Kuharczyk, the next one to come through, will have absolutely no idea. We obviously had Patrick Huitzenroder going out earlier on. That is one of the JHR developments car. And now we've had the second one having an issue in this race, which is the Rodin Motorsport car. Well, either way, through all of this, welcome to the GB3 Championship, Will McIntyre. What an unbelievable performance it was earlier on in the weekend from Louis Sharp. But Will McIntyre is now going to slap his name into race winner territory. We've had 3 brand new winners in the GB3 Championship, and Will McIntyre is the latest of them in the most dramatic of fashion. Weberski will cross the line in 3rd, and for the second time this weekend, Ugo Ugachukwu has crossed the line in 3rd.
Yeah, so Weberski's 2nd there, and also very interestingly for the championship, it's going to be a good year, I think, because that's 3 different winning teams from 3 different races at the first rounds of the season.
That's honestly incredible. But what a shame for Arthur Ojon, who finishes in 6th position, so does round out a fairly solid weekend. But I can tell you someone you're not going to get an interview from.
Who's that?
Well, it will be Arthur Ojon. No way are you talking to him.
I don't think that... I was about to say, I don't think Will McIntyre's seen the checkered flag, because he's still pushing on very hard. But we've got the team radio, so you'd think that he would know by now, unless there's been a radio failure as well, because he's pushing on, Lewis. Look at him going. Unless he's just enjoying himself so much in that high-tech pulsar. Yeah, he's just enjoying life, isn't he? Look at him weaving down the straight, celebrating that victory. Yes, potentially those positions were handed to him, but ultimately you've got to take the opportunities when they're presented to you, and he did exactly that.
Honestly, again, very impressive. A big shame for Arthur Ojon, but there is the whole thing of, you have to be in it to win it, and he was in it, and he did have to work his way up the order. That was the important bit. Did the heavy work early on to move his way up to here. I don't know why he's flying around so quick. This is like a sim racing inland.
He's just loving life, isn't he? Enjoying driving that car in the wet. I just hope he doesn't push too hard with his showboating and put that car on the wall, because that could quite easily undo a lot of the hard work that he's done so far.
Indeed. I'll go and double check Will McIntyre's results from the other races this weekend. It was a 9th place and a 6th place. Started this race from 6th, so to go from 6th to 1st, again, very, very impressive for Will Mac. And into the pit lane, into the podium he will go. What a crazy race.
Yeah, it's 2 cars from the podium positions just decided they didn't want to be GB3 cars anymore, and let's hope that those drivers find, or the teams of those drivers find the gremlins that caused those, so that they can avoid that in future. But still, take nothing away, Will McIntyre drove a faultless race, and much like Mackenzie Cresswell in race number 2, staying out of trouble is often the best port of call, and he managed to take the win for the first time, and his first win in the GB3 Championship.
Yeah, of course, it is his first weekend, unlike drivers like Patrick Huitzenroder, who did a couple of rounds at the end of 2023. Will McIntyre, we've seen him in GB4. I think he did the first season finale. Made contact with Nicholas Taylor. I distinctly remember that coming through the first corner. But alas, in this, he's making it his own for the high-tech team. Has raced in British Formula 4 last year, moving over to the GB3 Championship in the hopes to go and win the whole thing, and maybe even book his place maybe in something crazy like FIA F3. 3 drivers did it from 2023. Who knows from this year? Yeah,
I know some of the drivers have already got their sights on the FIA F3 Championship, and it is the next logical step, assuming the drivers can get the budget on their route to Formula 1. Of course, FIA F3, then F2, and then F1, and they've got the accreditation from the FIA this year with the 10 super license points for the championship winner. So that's what the drivers will be aiming for.
Yeah, that is 100% one of the biggest and best changes for this season, is having the super license points. If you don't know what super license points are, well, if you want to get to Formula 1, you need them.
You need 40 of them.
Yeah.
And we get 10 of those for the winner of the GB3 Championships. That's a good step towards your Formula 1 career.
That's a big percentage of those super license points picked up here and now, and so it's not a small change for the season. It's probably, arguably, I would say it's the biggest change that we've had in GB3's history. Either way, we'll head our way down towards the assembly area, towards the podium area rather, because Chris McCarthy is desperate to catch up with the top 3 from our reverse grid and final race of the weekend.
Thank you very much, Lewis. Yes, that is 3 different winners from 3 different teams. The third of them being Will McIntyre there, grabbing the win right at the end of the race. Your first full season racing in the GB3 Championship. What a start to the season there. Picking up great points throughout the weekend and ending it on the top step of the podium. You must be over the moon with that.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of them races where we just had to maximise what we could, because obviously not a great qualifying meant that we were at the front and that we could actually challenge for the win. Honestly, I don't even know what was going on. I could hardly even see because of any of the spray, so I was just looking at your man's rain light in front of me just to keep it on track, to be honest. And then he got closer and closer and closer on the last lap, and then all of a sudden he just pulled off to one side. I didn't even know what was going on and nearly went into the back of him, to be honest. So yeah, I just kept it on track, and yeah, that was it really.
It was just about keeping it clean throughout the race, I guess, wasn't it? How hard was the conditions out there? I mean, when the conditions like this, you are almost racing them as well as each other.
Yeah, well, like I said, I couldn't see a thing throughout the whole lap or anything. So, you know, after the safety car, I was like, yeah, this is pretty dangerous. I'm not gonna lie, but you know, I kept the thing on track, and yeah, here it is. I mean, just kept in front of everyone. You know, it's on one of those tracks as well where you're unable to overtake it as well, especially in the wet. So, you know, I just kept the thing on the black stuff, and it turned out all right.
Let's reflect on your weekend overall, coming in with the high-tech Pulsate team. What a start to the season overall. I mean, you must be really happy with this.
Yeah, I think, well, overall we had the pace to probably pole it overall. Unlucky qualifying and a couple of mistakes on my end, and we just didn't get the car quite right, and yeah, that ended up putting us on the back foot. But you know, some consistent results on points, I mean, it's always a good start to the week to the championship. Yeah.
Silverstone next, looking forward to that one?
Yeah, can't wait. Home track, going to be staying at home. It's going to be brilliant.
Let's get the hat on, Pirelli hat on, and we will get one more shot of Will McIntyre. There we go. On to Silverstone next. We will see you there. Thank you very much to Will McIntyre, and congratulations, Jared Roberski. There we go. On the podium. That is not a bad weekend at all. You must be absolutely thrilled to be on the podium.
Yeah, I think obviously a good way to end a pretty tough weekend in our books. We had the pace to, you know, fight for the podium all weekend, and just an unfortunate qualifying kind of hampered that. So yeah, good to finish second at the end there. It was not an easy race. I think after the safety car it rained quite heavily, so the last few laps we were kind of surviving. So yeah, happy to finish second.
Yeah, it was definitely a tricky race for all you guys out there, but let's talk about the weekend as a whole. Overall, happy with how things have gone. I know coming into the season when you've had a lot of build-up, I'm sure there's a lot of tension around. How is it now to get some good points on the board?
Yeah, I think overall it's the first round. You know, we have loads more to go and a load more races, so happy, you know, we got 3 consistent results. So yeah, that's a good start, and you know, better off than where we were last year, so that's an improvement. And I think going into Silverstone, you know, in testing we had really good pace there, and the car's been really good. So yeah, looking forward to that.
With the calendar we have, I don't think we're going to have weather like this all the way through season, so this is going to give you a good base to build from.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously we have a little bit more to find compared to everyone else in the wet, but I think, you know, we've made good improvements. The car's fast, and it's just about being consistent this year. Looking forward to Silverstone GP next. Yeah, that's one of my favourite tracks. The car's fast there and we were fast, so yeah, looking forward to that. Congratulations, well done. Jared Roberski for Elite. Let's go and speak to Ugo Chukwu. Not the first time we're speaking to him down in Parc Fermé. Well done, Ugo Chukwu, up into GB3. You've adjusted very, very quickly to the car.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably the best start of my life. I started from P10, and I don't even know how many people I made off the line, but then I also had a really good lap 1, so I think I made myself in P4 already. And then yeah, it was a really tricky race with the spray. The whole race, my pace was just limited by how fast the guy ahead of me was going. So yeah, it was quite a tricky race. But yeah, just had to avoid mistakes, stay on track, just picked up the pieces, and yeah, happy to get a podium. And you talked about the start there. Just tell us how much practice goes into nailing one of the starts, and what's going through your mind at the time. I'm sure it's quite nerve-wracking at the time, of course, but a lot of practice comes to get that right. Yeah, I mean, it was my first start in the wet in this car, so I just tried to prep as much as possible. You know, look at previous starts around here, and yeah, I just managed to nail it and get a really good lap, which we knew was crucial. Just to get that track position and get in front of the pack was going to be crucial for the race. But yeah, overall, I'm just happy to finish the weekend with 2 podiums. I'd like to thank everyone in Oulton. They've done a great job all weekend, and yeah, good way to finish off strong first weekend.
And we don't know if we'll see obviously a full title assault from you, but this has been a great weekend overall for you to build from your career going forwards. You've had a great dry race, a great wet race as well, so you must be really happy with what you've been able to learn from this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, a P3, a P4, P3 is really solid. We're just gonna look into what we can do even better and try to be even stronger in Silverstone.
Excited for Silverstone now?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very fun race.
Thank you very much, Ugo Gachukwu. Well done, 3rd place. Now, that is all from us in Parc Fermé in the GB3 Championship. You can see from the amount of water, it's been round very, very quickly. That is how much water they have been faced with down here. We'll face one more. There's our winner's car, Will McIntyre. Let's go back up to Lewis to reflect more on how we got there.
Thanks, Chris. It is absolutely soaking out there. I can tell that by looking out the window of my commentary box, which is, to be fair, quite nice and dry. Obviously, yes, it was very, very difficult. The first race, this is more stats than anything else, but the first race of the day, the daily rainfall according to this TSL timing was 0.6 millimetres of rain. So it was sprinkling a lot. Through that race, it was 2.6 it got up to millimetres of rain. Basically, what it's just saying is it was raining a lot harder in the middle of that race than it had done all day long. So they dealt with the hardest conditions they possibly could do, and they have dealt with them absolutely brilliantly. Of course, we'll see them out onto the podium. I will update you with the championship standings now. Louis Sharp will be our championship leader. He will have 82 points. Again, very provisional. Louis Sharp will have 82 points. Ugo Gachukwu will be 2nd in the championship now on 67 points, 15 behind Louis Sharp, meaning it is a Rodin Motorsport 1-2 in the championship. And really for them it should have been even better with Arthur Rojon potentially winning that race, alas dropping down the order. John Bennett will be 3rd in the championship on 66 points, 1 behind Ugo Gachukwu, 16 behind Louis Sharp. And Will McIntyre, who we'll see onto the top step of the podium in just a moment, will find himself 4th in the championship for the High-Tech Pulse 8 team, who have done very well around here. Of course, there was a couple of struggles last year around here with Alex Dunn. Still managed to rescue a couple of very solid results, did Alex Dunn. It was, well, to be fair, so fairly solid. I'm looking at it now. Alex Dunn last year finished 6th, 13th and 10th. So despite a mediocre start to the season, still contended for the championship, finishing just 18 points behind Callum Poison. You never know how these seasons unfold, and this one looks like it's going to be far harder than any season we've had before in the GB3 Championship, courtesy of 3 overseas rounds, 1 in Belgium, 1 at the Hungaroring, and then 1 at Zandvoort, all going through the middle of the season. I'm going to say it, Oulton Park normally is a tricky track for these drivers to go racing at, but courtesy of the weather conditions we've had today, it has been absolutely phenomenal. We'll see them onto the podium then. We'll see exactly how they felt about that one. Obviously, we caught up with the podium just a few moments ago, courtesy of Chris McCarthy. Ugo Gachukwu will join the podium finishers by jumping up onto the 3rd step of the podium. Again, it was a very impressive drive from him. It's his 2nd podium of the weekend. He's finished 3rd, 4th and 3rd this weekend as Ugo Gachukwu. That is very, very impressive. Into 2nd position on the podium is, of course, I've done that one wrong. It's Jared Weberski onto 2nd position on the podium, his 2nd one in his GB3 campaign. Then Will McIntyre finishing 9th, 6th and then 1st across the weekend, gaining 5 positions in that race and 5 points with it. He moves up now into 4th position in the championship. Can he contend as the season unfolds? You just never really know. Dealt with the wet weather conditions brilliantly, and yes, of course, maybe you could say got a bit lucky with the 2 retirements in Patrick Huysenroder and of course, well, Arthur Rojon dropping down the order courtesy of a technical issue on that final lap of the race. Who knows what will unfold over the season. They all received their trophies, and again, very well deserved they were, especially in difficult conditions like this. As Ugo Gachukwu doesn't look particularly pleased, but still it is what it is. John Bennett had a bit of a struggle in that race, to be perfectly honest, but still has set the fastest lap of the weekend. That was set back on Saturday in the dry conditions. So we'll receive his prize for the Sunoco Fastest Driver Award, as I think he's done a couple of times, but that will be a very nice way of starting out the season. Still looks pretty happy despite having a mediocre race. Hopefully we'll get to catch up with him post-race to really see what his analysis is from that one. A bit of a struggle there from John Bennett, finishing down in 14th position, second place in the first race, first in the second race, and then 14th in this one for Bennett, but still sits third in the championship. Let's take a look at highlights though from the third race of the weekend. Highlights from race number 3. Sebastian Murray struggled to get off the line in the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. It was an excellent start, though, from Arthur Rojon in that black, white and red car, straight through to take over the race lead from the second row on the grid. They all worked their way through the first corner nicely, and to be fair, it was fairly single file for the most part. Sebastian Murray was trying to get himself back in line in that red and yellow car, but was unable to hold off the charge of the likes of Kuharczyk. A retirement from the race from Patrick Hoytzenroder from up inside the podium positions, courtesy of a mechanical issue. Then this moment from Aditya Kulkarni would send him into the gravel trap and out of the race. Once the race got back going again, though, it was still Arthur Rojon leading the way for the Road and Motorsport team, doing an incredible job to pull away once more from Will McIntyre. There were battles further down the order from the likes of Timothy Kuharczyk, who had an excellent race too, working his way up the order before some issues late on. Will McIntyre, his teammate in that number 21 Hi-Tech Pulse 8 car, was challenging for the race lead. And unfortunately for Arthur Rojon, there was an issue on the final lap. He would have a mechanical of some description. It would drop him off of the race lead and indeed off of the podium, because behind him, and not that far behind, the other two would sneak through, Jared Wilberski and Ugo Ugachukwu. Will McIntyre, though, would come through the final corner and up towards the line to take his first ever victory in the GB3 Championship, rounding out an excellent weekend here at Oulton Park. Taking a look at the provisional race results then from the third race of the weekend, and of course Will McIntyre taking that victory. Jared Wilberski and Ugo Ugachukwu in third position, then Timet Kuharczyk in fourth. He's probably had quite a disappointing weekend considering the pace that he had in race number 2, but to be fair, he worked his way up the order brilliantly in this one. Louis Sharp into fifth position, so a race victory, a second place and a top 5 in the third one. Excellent weekend from the Kiwi. Arthur Rojon in sixth position, dropping back after those problems. Then Sebastian Murray from the front row of the grid down to 7th place. That is still a very solid and respectable drive. Mackenzie Cresswell into 8th position, with Colin Queen up to 9th, and Gerard Shee for the Hi-Tech Pulse 8 team finishing in 10th position. Noah Ping ended up in 11th spot, with Ed Pearson finishing this race after a retirement in the previous run. 12th place for him. Hugo Schwarzer for the Elite Motorsports team in 13th position, before we get to joint championship leader coming into this race, John Bennett. 14th spot for him, just ahead of his good friend James Headley in 15th. Bit of a disappointing weekend for the VRD by Arden driver. Flynn Jacks in 16th position, with Rishab Jain in 17th. Josh Irfan in 18th position, with Sean Rashid and Aditya Kulkarni retiring from the race after that incident under the safety car. Patrick Hoytzenroder retiring with a mechanical issue earlier on in the race for the JHR Developments team. What could have been for the Australian driver, who looked to have so much pace after starting from the reverse grid pole, but I'm sure we'll see many an amazing thing from Patrick Hoytzenroder. We'll head down though to Piers Prior to find out exactly what's happened to Arthur Rojon and to see why he dropped down the order.
We're down here and we have our long-time race leader, but unfortunately an issue, Arthur Rojon, meant that you didn't end up winning the race. Just talk us through what happened. All we saw was you're in the lead, a nice gap, and then you fell back, but still managed 6th place.
Yeah, I got stuck in 5th gear after the first corner, so I do all the straight in 5th gear stuck, and then I can down change again to the 2nd gear, and yeah, again stuck in 2nd. So yeah, I do all the lap in 2nd gear. Then for the last lap I can't go to 6th again, but yeah, when I don't shift, the gear start to go to 6th alone. So yeah, still a good result, but yeah, we were leading the race easily, all the race apart the 2 last laps. So it's a bit disappointing.
Let's look back to the start of the race before the issue. It's a real shame that the issue came back, because I think, you know, you'd done everything right up until that point, but you had an absolutely lightning start from the second row. Talk to us about how that went down for you.
Yeah, the start was really good. No wheel spinning. Yeah, overtake three people in 100 meters. So yeah, really good start. Then I pull away a lot from the car behind me, and even after the safety car restart, I make a small gap between me and McIntyre. But then the problem with the gearbox and a race in P6.
Arthur, truly unlucky, but you did all you could have done, so unlucky. Hopefully that gives you confidence going into the rest of the year, if there are any wet races especially. Thank you for chatting to us. I know you're disappointed, so I'll let you go and, I don't know, commiserate with the team, break down what happened, and yeah, we'll see you at the next round. Thank you so much, Arthur. We've also got Timek Kuharczyk down here as well. Timek, of course, for the High-Tech Pulsate team. Timek, that was a tough race out there, lots of spray. Was it wetter out there than the first race this morning?
For sure. I feel more like after kart race rather than Formula race. So yeah, it was really wet. You know, the spray was horrible, especially like after the safety car, where all the water just got stuck, and you know, a lot of spray coming out of the cars. But you know, difficult race, but positive that we grabbed some points.
So you managed, I think it was 5th place in the end, I believe. So still a good result. Was it 4th? Oh, anyway, you know, a good top 5. Sum up your first start to the season, the first 3 races for yourself. You were rapid at the start of the race 2. You had some good pace, made some good overtakes, as we've always seen you. Of course, unfortunately, a small issue in the race 2 as well. But you know, sum it up as a whole.
I think we had really good pace over the weekend, but just my mistake in quali. You know, we shouldn't be starting on the front row for all 2 races. But yeah, it's racing, you know. So I gave my all in race 2. Made some pretty good progress in the first half of the race, but then yeah, just you know, I think my racer ego just was too big, so made contact with Louis and lost the front wing. But you know, it's racing. Positive thing is you know, we came back stronger for race 3. We made a good clean race, scored some points, which is the most important, and you know, we're even more hungry for run 2 now.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for chatting to us. Good to see you having a good race. Why don't we grab a word with Flynn Jacks? Timek, thank you so much for chatting to us. Flynn, how you doing? Good to see you. Looking very casual, mate. You get your wet kit off pretty soon.
No, it was soaking. It was absolutely miserable. I just, as soon as I could, I got it off. I actually had to get like a microfiber towel just to wipe myself down.
Yeah. It's really wet out there. We just chatted to Timek Kuharczyk, whose white high-tech suit was not as white as when he started. Let's put it that way. Anyway, talk to us about the race from your perspective. You know, you've eased your way into the GB3 Championship. Really tricky conditions out there, especially today as well. Just talk to us about your first weekend in the championship.
Well, first weekend, you know, practice looked quite promising, to be honest. I was quite quick, but in qualifying, my mistake, I bottled it a bit. I was all the way down 17th. And around here, it's a bit like Monaco, to be honest, I'm not going to lie. It's just, you can't really overtake anywhere. So, race 1 in the dry was just me learning, just, you know, like getting used to tire temp, dirty air and all that. But today, with these last 2 races in the wet, it felt more like just trying to survive. It felt like you're just trying to survive rather than racing other people on track, you know.
Yeah, well, we saw that in race 2 earlier on. Mackenzie Cresswell was in 5th place and then didn't do anything and found himself on the podium. And of course, you know, you're still working on the qualifying, getting the tyre temps in. And I suppose that's a big part of your journey this year, is just learning how these cars make them talk to you back.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is a big part of it, and it's just going to come with experience, you know, just more time in the car.
Brilliant. And looking ahead to the next round, are you in a good place? Are you more confident than you were at the start of the year?
100%. Yeah, I feel like I'm in a pretty good place. I've been learning quite quickly and just getting a good grip of it. Yeah.
Well, Flynn, thank you so much for chatting to us. Flynn Jacks for the Chris Titman Racing team. Flynn, I'll let you go and put your suit in the tumble dryer, and maybe it'll be clean by the next round. Cheers, Flynn. Right. So that's it for this weekend, basically, isn't it, Chris? Chris McCarthy, we'll join you back in.
It is.
Another dramatic race there. 2 drivers, unfortunately, being robbed of a podium there. It's very rare to see that many mechanical issues in a race, potentially just due to the sheer amount of water.
Yes, but I think, you know, the big takeaway
3 different winners from 3 different teams. I mean, I think that highlights the level of competitiveness we're going to have in GB3 this season, right? It's the first round of the season, the first of a season where we're going to travel wider than we ever have in the GB3 Championship. We've got a fantastic grid, and I think that's been highlighted by the results we've had so far at the very top, yet let alone what we've had throughout the midfield.
Oh, it's been great. I'm very excited for the rest of the season, Chris, at the very least, because last year we saw a 3-way fight in the lead between 3 teams. It was High-Tech, Rodin and JHR. Same again this weekend. High-Tech, Rodin and JHR took the wins today with different drivers, and we've also got a very, very close grid throughout the rest of the field. I think it's one of the closest qualifyings we've had here in a very long time, if you ignore Louis Sharp. Sharp, a great introduction to the championship. John Bennett staking his claim, saying, I'm back for a 3rd year and this is my time. Oh, it's going to be tasty.
Let's go quickly before we wrap up. Moment of the weekend for you. I mean, I think we saw some fantastic moves right at the front. What was a sort of a highlight of the weekend for you? Is it hard to pick one? I mean,
no, I've got one in my mind. It's got to be the move around the outside in race 2 from John Bennett. That was very, very tasty. I've had the experience of driving this circuit at a racing speed in cars very similar to this and in the wet, and that is committed. So fair play to John Bennett, and he will be a little bit disappointed, I think, with his result in race 3, just not getting the start to the race that he potentially wanted. But hey, it's going to be a fight to the final race of the season. I'm almost certain of it.
He was our returning winner, along with our new winners in Will McIntyre and Louis Sharp. Next we go to Silverstone. Let's conclude by quickly previewing that. Looking forward to that one. It's one of 5 Grand Prix tracks we're going to have in a row now, 3 of those being abroad. They've got a fantastic run of tracks, haven't they?
Oh wow, I mean, Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, I've said it before, but I drove that circuit for the first time quite a few years ago in a road-based car, and I thought, what's all the fuss about? I drove it, I was like, yeah, it's just fine. And I drove it in a GB3 car, and I was like, oh, it makes sense now. It makes sense. It literally feels like flying a plane. So smooth, so fast. You barely slow down. It really comes alive. The grip is so high. That's the circuit I'm probably most jealous of the drivers racing on it this year, but we're going to see some great racing. Long straights at Silverstone, much wider circuit, so more opportunities for moves up and down the field.
We certainly will. 27th and 28th of April is when the GB3 Championship will return for the 2nd round of the season. Until then, from myself, Chris McCarthy, Piers Pryor, Lewis McGlade and Naomi Newman, it's goodbye.
The season is underway.